Many of you may or may not know, Golani was founded by David Ben-Gurion in 1948 to protect the northeastern border of Israel, also known as the Golan, hence Golani. So Golani is not exactly the easiest thing to connect to Tanakh, so naturally I went to my father for some help. And he told me the following Dvar Torah. He said that the Golan is not part of the original blueprint of Eretz Yisrael. It wasn't part of the blueprint that Hashem gave to Abraham in Parshas Lech Lecha. In fact, it was only annexed by David HaMelech, and then later on it was annexed in 1967, but to become part of modern Israel, what is modern Israel today. So the famous trial that came up is, does the Golan have the same status of Kedusha as the rest of Eretz Yisrael, since it was only an annexation, it's not part of the original blueprint. So there is a famous opinion that in the times of Mashiach, the entire world will have the same status of Kedusha as Eretz Yisrael. So also we know that the Golan is in the Nachla of Dan and Chati Sheva Menashe, both of whose original Nachlas was not in the Golan. Chati Sheva Menashe, we know the whole story with Reuven, Gad, Chati Sheva Menashe. They asked Moshe for the land in the east of the Yarden. That's how Chati Sheva Menashe got part of the Golan. And Dan, we learned last year in Sefer Yoshua, those of us who learned it, that Dan had the issue that the little piece of Gaza Strip was not enough for their humongous population, so they asked Yoshua for some more land. Yoshua said, you can go up north, conquer some more land, and that can be part of your Nachla. So that's what they did, and that's how that became. So, with that in mind, you can therefore assume that with the opinion that the entire world will be like Eretz Yisrael in the times of Mashiach, that Dan and Reuven, Gad, and Chati Sheva Menashe's request for land was in fact a request to bring Mashiach. Now my first response to this Dvar Torah was, this is the cheesiest thing I've ever heard in my life. My second response was, this is perfect. But there was something that was still bothering me about this Dvar Torah. And I realized the thing that was bothering me was the fact that all my years, all my 17, almost 18 years, I've always learned that to bring Mashiach, you have to be nice to your friend, you have to respect your elders, you have to respect your parents, you have to learn Torah. It has nothing to do with conquering Eretz Yisrael. And Eretz conquering and war, it seems such like it's a physical and materialistic thing, and it didn't resonate with my learning of what I learned of how to bring Mashiach. So I want to read to you a story that my sister-in-law sent to me. She lives in Chashmonaim, and this was a man in her yeshuv posted it online on the Chashmonaim website. It was like this. Sunday, January 4th, 2009. This evening, my brother, who serves as a career military rabbi, told me the following story, which took place this past Shabbat when the IDF entered Gaza. He was one of 3 rabbis who spent Shabbat on a base not too far away from the border, together with a few hundred soldiers who were preparing for the ground incursion. After spending the day delivering shiurim and motivational speeches, the rabbis wondered if they should perhaps travel with the soldiers from the base to the staging location in order to boost the soldiers' morale. They deliberated and finally decided with some hesitation to go along with these soldiers. Hoping to arrange a mincha prayer service, the rabbis took a Sefer Torah with them. When it was time to get off the bus, my brother asked someone to pass the Torah to him. However, when he got off the bus, the Torah stayed behind. He looked back into the bus and saw the soldiers were passing the Torah from hand to hand. Each soldier took the opportunity to embrace it tightly. Afterwards, a group of soldiers approached 2 of the rabbis. The soldiers asked the rabbis for a blessing. Since giving blessings isn't included in a military rabbi's standard job description, my brother told the soldiers that he would recite the blessing he uses for his sons on Leil Shabbat. To his amazement, more and more soldiers began approaching him. According to him, most of them were traditional, i.e., not outwardly observant. The Bnei Yeshivot seemed less interested in receiving a blessing from the rabbis. Soon, so many soldiers had amassed that the rabbis could no longer give personal blessings. Instead, they spread out a talit over the crowd's heads, as is customary on Simchat Torah, and blessed everyone in unison. With great emotion, several soldiers exclaimed the rabbi's presence gave them the strength and boosted their spirits. One soldier even added that the rabbi's blessing was more significant and meaningful for him than all the training sessions he had heard in the period leading up to the operation. As the sun began to set, the long infantry column set out toward the strip. Meanwhile, the rabbi stood near the crossing with the Sefer Torah in their hands and called out words of encouragement and blessing to the soldier. The soldiers, in turn, kissed the Sefer Torah as they marched along. My brother wanted to hear what I thought about the story in terms of the Shabbat laws. He and his colleagues had been reprimanded by the brigade rabbi for permitting themselves to take the Sefer Torah with them. In fact, he claimed that the entire trip was problematic. The commanding rabbi's words caused my brother to second-guess himself. Although he was confident that he had acted in accordance with the worldview of IDF's chief rabbi Ravransky, he wasn't sure if he had acted properly. I immediately assured him that, in my opinion, his behavior constitutes an incredible Kiddush Hashem. How could anyone disagree? Now, this story really explained to me my misunderstanding of my father's Dvar Torah. The fact is that Sahal is extremely unique. It's not like the regular American army that is just purely, strategy, physical, materialistic, but the IDF also has this Torah aspect, this spiritual aspect of war. It's not just the physical, it's also the spiritual. War in Israel is both. And I feel that now that I know this, that my father's original Dvar Torah was true. War in Israel does include what I always learned of how to bring Mashiach. It does include the Torah and the spiritualism. And hopefully, with our protection of Israel and maybe one day annexation of Israel, and our duty to the Israeli army, which is to daven for them and to learn on their behalf, hopefully Mashiach will come speedily in our days.